We live among masks. Every person we meet, every smile we encounter, every word spoken, shrouded in a veil of intent we rarely see. Yet, there exists a path, a discipline so precise that it pierces through deception, through ego, through fear itself. Marcus Aurelius called it observation, pure, unswayed, unseduced by the illusions of our own desire. What we are about to uncover is not mere trickery or manipulation. It is the ancient art of seeing the human soul as it truly is. Imagine this. You enter a room. Every glance, every shift of weight, every micro-expression, each a signal, each a revelation. Most of us remain blind, guided by assumption and projection. But a mind disciplined by Stoic principles can read the currents of intention instantly. Not because it predicts the future, but because it recognizes the patterns woven by human nature itself. Here's the truth. We are all prisoners of emotion. Rage blinds, envy twists perception. Fear constricts the mind into a shadowed corner, making even the simplest interaction fraught with misjudgment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is not what happens to us, but how we perceive it that shapes our experience. If we can master our own mind, we gain the clarity to perceive others. If we cannot, we stumble blindly through lives half-lived, forever at the mercy of chaos. We will explore 18 psychological truths Marcus Aurelius recorded in the quiet moments of his reign, a guide for piercing through pretense and understanding the machinery of human behavior. These truths are not abstract. They are practical. They are brutal. They demand discipline, self-control, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable realities. We will confront fear, desire, and anger, not to be overcome by them, but to rise above them. Consider this. Every person you meet is engaged in a private war. Some fight against grief, others against ambition, some against shame they cannot voice. Most fight poorly. They are predictable in their struggle because emotion, untempered by reason, is a chain around every human heart. The Stoic sees this chain. The Stoic measures it. The Stoic is free from it. And this is where power begins, not over others, but over oneself. Let us start, then, with seeing, with observing, with listening to the quiet pulse beneath the words, the tension beneath the laughter, the hesitation beneath the certainty. We are not learning to deceive or manipulate. We are learning to understand, to read the room, to read the glance, to read the soul. Because here's the thing. Knowing the human mind is knowing the battlefield of your own. Every encounter becomes a test, not of wit alone, but of character. And Marcus Aurelius's truths, forged in the crucible of empire and solitude, are the tools for that mastery. The next moments are not comfortable. They are dark, because clarity often is. They will challenge our assumptions about ourselves and the world around us. They will demand attention, reflection, and courage. But if we follow them, if we embrace this discipline, we will see as few ever do. We will read intent, fear, and desire before they are spoken. And in that understanding, we will reclaim a portion of our freedom. The freedom to act without compulsion, to respond without reaction, to live without being enslaved by the chaos of others. This is where we begin. 1. People act according to what they value, not what they say. If you want to see someone's soul, stop listening to their words and start watching their habits. Words are light, convenient things. They bend easily under pressure, reshaped by fear, ambition, or the need to impress. Actions cost something: time, energy, sacrifice, and therefore reveal truth. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. But watch what people choose when the choice costs them comfort or reputation. Watch where they invest their effort, where they show up consistently without applause. That is where their real values live. This insight strips away naivety. It spares us disappointment when people break promises or fail to live up to their words. They never truly valued what they claimed. Their actions told the truth from the beginning. We just weren't paying attention. A Stoic mind uses this principle to navigate life with clarity. We don't judge or resent. We simply adjust expectations to reality. We act from reason, not from the illusions we are sold. And when we turn this principle inward, we confront a hard question. Where do our actions reveal our true values? The moment you reconcile what you say with what you do, you not only read others more clearly, you become more legible to yourself. 2. Fear dictates more behavior than reason. Most people are not acting from careful thought. They are reacting from fear. Fear of losing status, fear of missing out, fear of being judged, humiliated, abandoned, or forgotten. Fear is the invisible current beneath the surface of most decisions. And here's the thing, it leaves clues. Watch closely. The forced laugh, the deflection, the unnecessary explanation, the sudden anger. These are fear in disguise. Marcus Aurelius understood this intimately, reminding himself daily that fear and pain are temporary, but the damage of acting without reason can be permanent. When we see fear clearly, we stop taking behavior personally. That sharp comment might not be about us at all. It might be someone's defense against their own insecurity. Their avoidance might not be laziness, but terror of failure. The Stoic sees fear not as weakness, but as a map. It shows us where people will resist, where they will comply, and where they might break. And most importantly, it forces us to examine our own chains. What fears steer our behavior? What decisions do we make not from principle, but from panic? By mastering our own fears, we create space to observe others with clarity. We respond with patience rather than reactivity. We predict behavior not with arrogance, but with understanding. Fear governs the untrained mind. Reason governs the free one. 3. People resist what challenges their identity. The human ego is a fortress. Threaten it, and you will see its walls rise immediately. Criticize someone's worldview, question their competence, contradict their belief system, and you'll see them shift into defense. Sometimes it's subtle, a tense jaw or a dismissive laugh. Sometimes it's explosive, a verbal counterattack. Either way, it's predictable. Marcus Aurelius warned himself to expect resistance from others and not to take it as an offense. People aren't fighting you. They are protecting their sense of self. This understanding is crucial. It changes conflict from a battlefield into a field of study. When someone rejects advice that could help them, they aren't rejecting truth. They're rejecting the threat to their identity. When they argue against evidence, they aren't being irrational for its own sake. They're clinging to a story about themselves that feels like survival. A Stoic uses this knowledge to stay calm, to avoid escalation, and to gather insight. Each defensive reaction reveals where a person is most vulnerable, what they value most, and where their self-image is most fragile. And again, the mirror turns back toward us. Where do we resist correction? What beliefs are we unwilling to examine because they define us? A wise mind seeks to dissolve these rigidities, to become adaptable, to be corrected without fear. The freer we are from identity fragility, the more clearly we can read others, and the more unshakable we become in the face of their resistance. 4. Desire blinds as much as it motivates. Desire is a siren. It drives people forward, fuels ambition, sparks creation, but it also distorts perception. Marcus Aurelius warned against being enslaved by longing, noting that humans often fail to see clearly when their wants dominate. Desire narrows vision, it amplifies risk and downplays reality. Observe carefully. The person pursuing wealth at all costs, the lover clinging to idealized emotion, the ambitious colleague cutting corners. They reveal their priorities through the intensity and focus of their craving. Desire is transparent if you know where to look. The glances lingering too long, the gestures betraying urgency, the compromises made silently to reach a goal. A Stoic does not envy desire. We observe it, catalogue its patterns, and use it as a predictive tool. Desire explains irrational choices, sudden decisions, and apparent contradictions. It shows where someone's boundaries may bend and where they will snap. This principle also reflects inward. What do we pursue blindly, ignoring consequences? What cravings cloud judgment? Understanding desire in ourselves is the key to mastering it, and seeing it in others is the key to anticipating behavior. Desire is a compass and a warning. It shows what people value most and, simultaneously, where they may stumble. The Stoic mind sees clearly, unaffected by the heat of longing, observing patterns while maintaining reasoned detachment. Desire is not evil. It is a lens into the human soul. 5. People mirror the energy they encounter. Humans are social creatures, attuned to the emotional climate around them. Energy is contagious. Tension begets tension. Calm begets calm. Anger multiplies and composure diffuses. Marcus Aurelius noted the subtle influence of presence, how a single individual's temperament can ripple through a crowd, shaping perception and action. A fidgeting colleague can make others anxious. A poised leader can inspire steadiness. The Stoic mind watches carefully, noting how individuals reflect, absorb, or resist external emotional currents. Understanding this mirroring effect allows us to anticipate reactions without relying solely on words. This principle is not about manipulation, it is about awareness. By maintaining composure, we can observe others more clearly, predict responses, and navigate chaos with strategic clarity. It also gives insight into resilience. Those who absorb tension without faltering reveal patience and stability. Those who mirror agitation show where vulnerability lies. Internally, this mirrors our own state. How do we affect the energy of those around us? How do we allow moods and tempers to shape our perception? A disciplined mind projects calm while reading the patterns in others, gaining foresight and maintaining control. Energy is invisible yet legible. It is in posture, pace, tone, and expression. The Stoic sees these currents, not reacting blindly but navigating with clarity, understanding, and quiet power. 6. Anger is a signal, not a strategy. Anger is raw, immediate, and telling. It rarely exists in isolation. Most people think it is about the object of their rage, but it is not. Marcus Aurelius observed that anger often masks fear, disappointment, pride, or frustration. It is a signal, not a strategy. Watch it closely. When someone lashes out, the intensity and direction of their anger reveal priorities and vulnerabilities. What threatens them? What do they value most? A Stoic reads these signals carefully, extracting insight rather than reacting impulsively. Anger is also predictable in its patterns. Repetition under provocation exposes habit, impulse, and hidden motivation. By observing when and why a person loses composure, we gain foresight. We learn which pressures will provoke, which will fail, and which will require patient navigation. Most importantly, a Stoic remains detached. Anger in others is external. It does not dictate our reaction. By treating it as information rather than a personal threat, we preserve clarity and choice. Internally, anger is a reflection. Where do we feel rage? What triggers us? By mastering our own emotional impulses, we can observe anger in others without distortion, gaining insight into human behavior while maintaining serenity. Anger, once understood, becomes a map of priorities, weakness, and unspoken truths, a revelation for those disciplined enough to see. 7. Joy masks weakness as often as it reveals strength. Joy is complicated. Happiness is rarely pure. It is often a mask. A smile can conceal insecurity, a laugh can hide fear, and superficial cheer can cover anxiety. Marcus Aurelius understood this subtlety. Appearances are not truth, and we must look beneath surface expression. Observe carefully. A colleague who smiles while avoiding eye contact, a friend whose laughter is slightly forced, a leader whose enthusiasm falters under pressure. These are glimpses of tension hidden beneath joy. The Stoic mind reads these contradictions, understanding that outward cheer is often protective. Joy can reveal priorities, hope and aspiration, but also vulnerability, fear and uncertainty. The key is patience. Moments when the mask slips, brief pauses, hesitation, micro-expressions reveal what the person most wishes to hide. In these fleeting signs, we glimpse the contours of character. True joy is consistent. False joy falters when stress or contradiction appears. Internally, this principle is a mirror. How often do we wear masks of our own, projecting composure or pleasure to conceal discomfort or fear? Recognizing these layers in ourselves improves empathy, observation, and judgment. For the Stoic, joy is data. It is neither celebrated nor condemned, but measured and interpreted. Understanding it sharpens perception, anticipates behavior, and protects against deception. In the interplay of appearance and reality, clarity emerges, and clarity is freedom. 8. Fear and anxiety leave footprints in movement. Fear is never invisible. It leaves subtle traces in movement, gesture and tone, footprints of the mind etched in the body. Marcus Aurelius observed that humans rarely hide anxiety completely. Micro-expressions, hesitation, and shifts in posture reveal internal struggle. Watch carefully. A hand that trembles slightly, a foot tapping too quickly, a glance that avoids eye contact. These small signals disclose a mind grappling with uncertainty. The untrained observer misses these cues, taking words at face value. The Stoic sees deeper, noting the silent signs that foreshadow decisions, reveal priorities, and expose hidden concerns. Fear also predicts action. Those who shrink under subtle pressure may falter under greater challenge. Those who tense visibly when frustrated reveal thresholds of tolerance. Recognizing these patterns allows anticipation without confrontation. Internally, it is a reminder: where do our own anxieties distort perception? By mastering self-awareness, we see fear in others without projection, gaining clarity and strategic insight. Fear's footprints are everywhere, subtle but consistent. The Stoic reads them with discipline, turning observation into foresight. What others hide, the disciplined mind discerns, not through manipulation, but through careful attention, patience, and unwavering reason. 9. People often act to avoid shame more than to seek honor. Shame is a powerful, invisible motivator. Marcus Aurelius noted that humans are often driven more by the fear of embarrassment than by noble aspiration. Pride may be claimed, virtue may be extolled, but avoidance of shame frequently dictates behavior. Watch closely. Overcompensation, excessive explanation, defensiveness, or over-justification often signals someone navigating the weight of social perception. They act to avoid ridicule, ostracism, or criticism. What is denied externally often reflects private anxiety. Understanding this principle gives profound insight into motivation. Humans often pursue comfort over morality, safety over risk, appearance over substance. The Stoic mind anticipates these tendencies, recognizing the subtle forces shaping decisions. Reflection deepens the insight. How often do we act to preserve image, deflect blame, or avoid embarrassment? Awareness of shame, both internally and externally, sharpens observation, reduces reaction, and improves judgment. Shame reveals values indirectly. By tracking how people avoid discomfort, the Stoic predicts where they will falter, how they will respond under stress, and where their priorities truly lie. It is a subtle, often overlooked force, yet one of the most telling indicators of behavior. 10. Emotional patterns repeat before the conscious mind can intervene. Humans are creatures of habit. Marcus Aurelius understood that behavior often precedes reason. Under stress, excitement, or temptation, People revert to established patterns before conscious reflection occurs. These repetitions are predictable, revealing, and instructive. Observe carefully. Repeated gestures, reactions to conflict, or habitual phrases often indicate deeper tendencies. The untrained observer sees only the action. The Stoic sees the pattern beneath it. Repetition under pressure exposes priorities, impulse, and character. This principle also reflects on the observer. Do we recognize our own automatic responses? Stoic discipline involves observing patterns both in others and in ourselves. Awareness allows anticipation, measured intervention, and the choice to act differently. Patterns under duress are especially revealing. How someone reacts when challenged, interrupted, or provoked uncovers the architecture of habit and personality. By noting repetition, we gain insight not only into their likely behavior, but into the internal logic guiding it. For the Stoic, repeated emotional patterns are not to be feared or judged. They are data. Understanding them allows strategy, compassion, and foresight. To read these patterns is to see the mind's rhythm, predict its moves, and remain steady amid uncertainty. 11. Habits reveal the soul more than grand gestures. Great deeds may impress the world, but habits reveal truth. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that the ordinary choices made repeatedly, honesty in small matters, patience under strain, consistency in effort, show the real character. Spectacle is unreliable, routine is enduring. Observe daily behavior, not occasional heroics. Who keeps promises when no one watches? Who maintains calm in mundane frustration? Habits reflect values and priorities more accurately than declarations or appearances. This understanding allows prediction. Those consistent in effort and virtue are likely to act predictably in new circumstances. Those inconsistent in small matters reveal potential unreliability under pressure. The Stoic mind also turns inward. Are our own habits aligned with our principles? Are we consistent, disciplined, and patient? Or do we perform only for appearance or reward? Recognizing habitual patterns in self and others sharpens insight and strengthens judgment. Habits are the architecture of human behavior. Grand gestures may inspire, but the quiet repetition of disciplined action defines character. Observing them is the key to reading intention, predicting choice, and understanding the soul. 12. People project what they fear in others. Projection is universal, subtle, and telling. Marcus Aurelius noted that unacknowledged fears often emerge as accusations, suspicion, or judgment directed outward. People see in others what they refuse to see in themselves. Observe. A person quick to accuse, overly suspicious, or defensive often reveals insecurities they cannot confront internally. Projection is a signal, exposing hidden vulnerabilities, unacknowledged desires, or past trauma. The Stoic reads these signals without judgment, seeing what others hide from themselves. This principle is a mirror inward as well. Where do we project our fears onto others? Awareness allows self-mastery, clarity, and discernment. By recognizing projection, we prevent distortion in perception and avoid reactive misjudgment. Understanding projection equips the observer with foresight. Responses, accusations, or overreactions in others often have little to do with external events. They are reflections of internal struggle. The Stoic mind reads these reflections, mapping unseen fears and predicting likely behaviors without being drawn into conflict. Projection, once understood, becomes a powerful tool for insight. It transforms defensive or aggressive behavior into intelligible signals, revealing both character and hidden truths. Observing without reacting is mastery. 13. People act according to immediate incentives, not abstract principles. Humans are creatures of circumstance. Marcus Aurelius observed that lofty ideals often yield to the pull of immediate reward or comfort. People may espouse virtue, justice, or morality, yet when a tangible incentive appears, profit, recognition, safety, they act in ways that reveal true priorities. Observation is key. Words, promises, and philosophy often mask real intentions. A colleague who claims honesty yet takes credit for another's work. A friend who preaches loyalty yet abandons at the first challenge. These actions show how immediate incentives outweigh abstract ideals. The Stoic sees patterns, not exceptions, understanding that behavior flows from tangible motivators more than principle. This principle also applies inward. We overestimate our moral consistency, often acting in contradiction to our stated values when temptation or opportunity strikes. Marcus Aurelius reflected constantly on aligning action with reason, reminding himself that virtue requires conscious choice, not convenience. By observing incentives in others, we anticipate likely choices. A subtle shift toward comfort, advantage, or recognition can predict decisions before they are verbalized. Awareness of this tendency fosters patience, strategic foresight, and emotional resilience. Immediate incentives illuminate true priorities. The Stoic mind does not manipulate or exploit them for selfish gain, but uses the insight to remain unshaken, anticipate behavior, and act virtuously in alignment with reason. The world's chaos becomes legible when we recognize what drives action beneath the surface. 14. Silence and hesitation often speak louder than words. Words are fragile. Silence is telling. Marcus Aurelius understood that what is left unsaid often carries more weight than what is spoken. Hesitation. Avoidance and pauses are rich with meaning, revealing thought, doubt, or intention. Observe carefully. A pause before answering a question, a delayed gesture, a glance that shifts away. These moments expose inner conflict or calculation. People rarely conceal uncertainty completely. Silence and hesitation reveal boundaries, vulnerabilities, and priorities more clearly than confident speech. The Stoic mind listens beyond the voice. By attending to what is unsaid, we gain insight into hidden motives and predict likely actions. Hesitation is often a prelude to reaction, a signal of internal negotiation between impulse and principle. This principle mirrors introspection. How often do we hesitate, and what does it reveal about our own uncertainty or fear? By noticing the subtleties in ourselves and others, we sharpen perception, strengthen patience, and anticipate outcomes with accuracy. Silence is not emptiness. It is a canvas of intention, a subtle signal, a clue to character. The disciplined observer reads these pauses, building a map of thought and motivation. In the quiet between words, clarity emerges, a revelation for the Stoic willing to watch and wait. 15. People overestimate their control over outcomes. Hubris is nearly universal. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the human tendency to act with certainty as though the world would conform to will. Plans, assertions, and commands often collide with circumstance, revealing limitations and miscalculations. Observe. Overconfident speech, rigid expectations, or impatience under uncertainty signals overestimation of control. These patterns reveal character, resilience, and susceptibility to failure. The Stoic watches carefully, learning not to take it personally but to anticipate missteps and inconsistencies. Understanding this principle equips the mind to predict behavior. People act as though outcomes are under their command, yet reality remains indifferent. Overconfidence exposes priorities, rigidity, and likely errors. By tracking it, we navigate social and professional landscapes with foresight. Internally, it is a reminder: how often do we overestimate our influence, ignoring the unpredictable nature of life? Marcus Aurelius consistently reflected on the limits of human power, grounding himself in reason and acceptance. The Stoic reads overestimation in others without arrogance or exploitation. It is insight, not judgment. Recognizing inflated confidence allows us to anticipate decisions, remain unshaken by volatility, and act with deliberate clarity. Where others miscalculate, we maintain equanimity. 16. Repetition under stress exposes true character. Crisis is revealing. Under pressure, the masks people wear during comfort and routine fall away. Marcus Aurelius understood that repeated reactions in adversity, anger, patience, resilience, or selfishness, expose genuine character. Observe closely. How someone responds to recurring challenges, interruptions, or failures reveals impulse, integrity, and priorities. Patterns under strain predict behavior in future trials. A consistent response to stress signals reliability. Erratic reactions expose fragility. The Stoic mind watches without judgment, seeing adversity as a lens. Repetition amplifies tendencies hidden during ease. It is not only a test of virtue in others, but a mirror of our own capacity to respond under duress. This principle also guides intervention. By noting behavioral repetition, we know when to step in, when to wait, and when to act decisively. Awareness of these patterns transforms uncertainty into insight. Crisis reveals truth. Habit under pressure maps personality. The Stoic observes carefully, extracting meaning, predicting action, and maintaining composure. In repetition lies clarity, the opportunity to see the soul without illusion. 17. People act to preserve energy and avoid discomfort. Efficiency and comfort govern much human behavior. Marcus Aurelius noted that avoidance of effort, discomfort, or mental strain shapes decision-making as strongly as ambition or principle. Observe, hesitation, procrastination, or minimal effort often signals avoidance. People favor the path of least resistance, even if it conflicts with moral or intellectual ideals. Understanding this principle allows anticipation of compliance, evasion, or resistance. The Stoic mind does not exploit weakness, but recognizes predictable behavior. Awareness of avoidance clarifies interaction, strategy, and patience. Energy preservation shapes responses more than rational deliberation for many, and tracking it grants foresight. Internally, this principle reminds us to examine our own tendencies toward laziness or avoidance. Discipline, effort, and resilience counteract these impulses, sharpening observation and judgment. Energy avoidance is subtle but consistent. Those attuned to it can predict behavior, maintain composure, and act strategically. The Stoic reads the invisible calculus of effort and discomfort, gaining insight into choices, priorities, and likely outcomes without being drawn into unnecessary conflict. 18. Every person is shaped by experience more than intention. Who someone is flows from what they have endured, not what they profess to desire. Marcus Aurelius reflected that past suffering, habit, and conditioning leave invisible imprints on action. Words reveal aspiration. Behavior reveals history. Observe carefully. Reactions to stress, loyalty under pressure, empathy or cruelty all reflect accumulated experience. Understanding history allows prediction. A person scarred by betrayal may hesitate in trust. A one-time failure may trigger avoidance. Behavior is molded by the weight of memory, pattern, and conditioning. The Stoic mind sees context without excuse. Observing experience informs anticipation, guides action, and fosters empathy without illusion. It distinguishes between intention and consequence. Internally, this principle calls for reflection. How have our experiences shaped our impulses, fears, and desires? Awareness of history in self and others sharpens insight and reduces misjudgment. Experience is architecture. Behavior is structure. By observing patterns forged over time, the Stoic discerns character, predicts action, and acts with wisdom. Human nature is constant beneath superficial change, and in recognizing the imprint of experience, we read reality itself. We began in the shadows, blinded by the masks of others, lost in our own unexamined impulses. Now we see clearly. We understand the patterns that shape behavior, the currents that guide action, and the forces that govern desire and fear. But this knowledge is not power unless it is lived. The Stoic path is not a fleeting lesson, it is a lifelong discipline. To observe, to reflect, to act with virtue, to master emotion. This is freedom. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every moment of chaos is an opportunity to practice clarity, restraint, and insight. Remember this: mastery is not over others, it is over yourself. The moment you conquer your impulses, understand the machinery of behavior, and respond with reason instead of reaction, you step into a space few ever inhabit, a space of quiet strength, unshakable presence, and profound resilience. So go forth with your mind sharpened, your perception honed, and your heart anchored. Observe, learn, act, but never be enslaved by the currents around you. In the stillness of understanding, in the discipline of reflection, you will find freedom. We have seen the truth, now live it.